Ladies and gentlemen, welcome or welcome back for the first time to the Electric Vibe podcast. I am your co-host, Kurt Hoffman, and my smooth boy's brother from another mother co-host is none other than.
J. David Silva, and you know that I am the Electric Man.
And we have an additional special guest today. Well, two special guests, but we have additional podcaster. You'll know him from the Purple Knights podcast, Mr. Chris Johnson. Chris, how are you, sir?
Hey everybody, what's up? Glad to
And
be here.
dude, we're glad to have you. I know you wanted to do an episode. You have a is it okay to share? You have a upcoming medical procedure coming up, and you wanted to definitely do a episode or something before that happens. And we're glad
Yes,
you're
please do. I was actually going to release a video to that effect on my own channel,
okay.
a little small health update, but yes, please do.
Thank you, and
Yeah,
we wish you well, and that happens next week. So we're
yes.
so glad that you're able to join us for that,
So,
and before that happens. So we're wishing you all the best health and best luck with that. Jay, would you care to tell us who our guest is today, who is here with us in the same time and space, relatively?
yes, I would be honored to. Ladies and gentlemen, on the Electric Vibe podcast today, we are welcoming Michael Bland, drummer extraordinaire on the music scene for over 3 decades. Whereas many know Michael for his work with Prince as part of the New Power generation, Michael's also worked with some great musical talents such as Nick Jonas and the Administration, Soul Asylum, Maxwell, Shaka Khan, a whole plethora of other artists. We are just excited to have Michael Bland in the house with us, and the Electric Vibe is giving a big welcome to you, Michael. How are you today?
Hey y'all, I'm doing all right. I'm just just keeping it mellow for now anyway.
Nothing wrong with that.
Oh,
So,
we can do.
Sure.
kick us off.
So, Michael, uh, when I remember first seeing you perform, it was on the Saturday Night Live 15th anniversary special. And I guess what was that? The electric chair, and of course, Patrice Rushen. Very unique setup for that lineup. Um, and of course, you made a tremendous impact for us all in visually in the Party Man video as well. Also promoting the Tim Burton Batman movie soundtrack at that time. Can you take us through what it was like to be baptized in fire on that? That was your debut performance, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I didn't really know enough to be afraid. You know,
And
it's it's odd, because some people are just sort of born to do this sort of thing. Other people have to sort of develop, a space in their either in their mind or in their in their being somewhere for everything that comes with it. It's just I guess I've never been scared of cameras. I've never I I, I'm I've always been a very detail oriented person, so I'm especially with music. It's like I have very strong retention skills, and so I have a lot of confidence. I've always had a lot of confidence in my ability to deliver, and certainly Prince tested it on all sorts of levels, but I mean, yeah, that was no buttons to push. I mean, a TV broadcast, you know what you're going to play from start to finish, and nothing changes from you know, but which is completely different than being on the road with somebody
sure.
like Prince who changes the set list as we're walking to the stage to perform.
Well, let
It's
me. Sure. I'm sorry to
yeah. So
interrupt there.
I mean, I, it it was fun for me. I mean, I didn't have any sort of weird nerves about it or anything. It was just like I don't know, man. Just sometimes I'm like I said, it's like sometimes your ignorance can just sort of, you know,
Be bliss.
Carry you through, right? Right.
yeah, it can block out a lot of distractions. If you become overly aware of almost any situation, you can, I can get inside my own head if I'm not careful. You
So,
know.
with,
Think we can.
Michael, with Kurt bringing up the first time he saw you, and then you talking about having that confidence, can you tell us how you came about playing drums, some of the musical influences that you had growing up, and then how it led into your career?
I suppose, I mean, I could try to construct some sort of timeline in which I discovered one drummer after another, but I mean, it's all that gave me the language, whether you're talking about somebody like Neil Peart, or you're talking about Billy Cobham,
Mhm.
or you're talking about John Bonham, or Ringo, or Bernard Purdy, or I mean, I stole from the very best. So, I had a pretty healthy vocabulary on the instrument by the time I met Prince, and he really helped me to sort of uh, figure out my own identity on the instrument. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I played in cover bands as a teenager, so I was always a strong listener.
Mhm.
But when I started recording with Prince. That really gave me the uh, the experience I needed to figure out my musical identity.
Wow.
So, Michael, earlier you talked about your strong retention skills. When you say that, specifically, you talking muscle memory, visual memory, or both, or what exactly do you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a mishmash of those things. Also,
Okay.
I have perfect pitch, so I'm not just playing, bars until I get to another set of bars. I'm listening
Oh,
to the changes. I'm understanding musically what's taking place.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I play a
love
little
it.
keyboard, I play some bass guitar,
Sure.
so I can, a lot of drummers who don't become multi-instrumentalists. They're I don't know what their way in is into what their way in is into a composition, like maybe the
Sure.
lyrics,
Yeah.
or you know so music's a very literate sort of thing for me. It's like it's not abstract, it's something very clear.
Wow. The perfect pitch thing. I understand that because it can be a blessing and a curse,
That's right.
especially if your toms aren't tuned correctly. And I know you
Yeah,
probably
I
a
mean, it's
stickler.
and not to speak ill, but it's Sonny also has perfect pitch, and sometimes
Yes, he's mentioned it. Yeah.
Prince would all of a sudden start tuning his guitar, and he didn't he was never really that wasn't a place where he excelled. Sonny would just like Sonny would tell his tech to like go get Zeke, because Prince would be standing there trying to tune his own guitar, for 5 minutes, and that's like somebody taking their claws and just going at it at a
Chalkboard.
yeah. I
That's
mean,
actually that actually surprises me. Uh,
it surprised me too.
I'm sure.
Because
Wha-
he,
Oh,
he he didn't play he could hear he didn't play out of tune, but when it came time to just to tune his instrument, just to get it locked in, he just it was odd. I don't know if it's just he never really had to get very good at it because he always had somebody,
to do it for him. Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
I don't know, but
Huh.
that was always Sonny and I would just kind of look at each other, and and then he'd holler at his tech like, "Go get Prince's guitar, tech man."
Takumi, was this be Takumi that you're talking about or other guys?
Takumi was a little later than us.
Later. Okay. After you. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, the last guitar tech I remember was a guy named Zeke Clark.
Okay. Okay.
Yep. Zeke, yeah.
Yeah, he was the
Awesome.
last one that I remember. That doesn't mean he was the last one that was there. But
Well, speaking of techs, when it comes to drum techs, when you were working with Prince, did you have a bevy of drum techs or was it just one person that all the way through?
um, no, I started with Brad Marsh, who had been there for
Marsh. Right.
Sheila
Yeah.
and for Bobby,
Ooh.
and yeah, he and and just uh, he's a nice enough fellow, I suppose, but I don't think he liked being in the position he was put in. Like when I had joined Prince's band, I was 19,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I mean, I I speculated that maybe he thought that it was maybe below his pay grade, or maybe he just, you know, maybe it's somewhere in his mind he thought he was next up. I don't really know. I don't know him, really well enough to discuss it. And it's whatever it is, it's basically ancient history
Okay.
now.
Right.
But
Sure.
so he left to go work for Phil Collins, I think. I think Cubby
Really?
might have
Okay.
helped him get a job for working for Phil. Cubby was Prince's monitor guy on the Purple Rain tour, and then his front of house guy for basically, I think, up and through. I want to say maybe Love Sexy.
Okay. Okay.
But Cubby is known the world wide over. I'm actually becoming really good friends with Cubby right now. He just reached out of nowhere, and it's like,
Huh.
hey man, we kind of served in the same branch of the military. We sort of we
Sure.
both took friendly fire. Like he just kind of called and just was like, hey, I want to be friends. Let's be friends. And I like him a lot. He's an extremely nice person, and we've been talking about collaborating in some way, shape, or form. So,
Excellent.
mhm.
Well, you guys are a lot like, and you've referred to this, and the revolution refers to this like astronauts. When the revolution did the whole Purple Rain juggernaut, that was like an astronaut launch going to the moon and back. And when you come into the fold, it's a whole different rocket launch, so to speak.
Well,
You
yeah,
know,
it's more like salvaging scrap metal and you know trying to build a rocket from scratch.
sure.
Which I
Well, you
felt
were
like, at least since Dirty Mind, Prince has been working on going in a very specific direction and a kind of a journey to self rather than being, compared to Stevie Wonder and Todd
sure.
Rundgren and all these other self-produced sort of artists. Like Prince really, decided it was time to fight, for his authentic self, which, and it's weird because I'm told that Dirty Mind is probably the least selling record of his whole collection, but
Right.
it certainly did it galvanized what he was about, I think.
Right.
That was the real beginning of Prince in
Yeah,
terms of his cult of personality. You know.
sure. So
Yeah.
by the
So,
time he got to Controversy, you could see him turning the corner.
oh yeah,
You know,
for
it
real.
was it was just it's two records later, and you've got a hit movie and a hit soundtrack, and
That those 10 years, it's just you think about it now, it's just all that he did. When you go from Purple Rain to Love Sexy, that's just a 4-year period. I say just, but all
right.
this voluminous amount of work that the work ethic. I mean, can you speak to the work ethic? Because I know that certainly you talk about working for him in militaristic terms or boot camp terms or what have you. I mean, he was an academy and a boot camp and a college and a university and a whatever all rolled into one.
hmm I mean,
So
I don't disagree. I mean, it was an education you can only get with somebody who's a master. You know what I mean? Like somebody who has true mastery over their skill set. And well more than whatever it is, the 10,000 hours that they talk about in is that book called Outliers? I think it's called.
yes,
Right. Malcolm
Yeah,
Gladwell. Mhm.
Malcolm Gladwell
Right.
yes,
talks about like to master anything you have to put in like a minimum of 10,000 hours, and I mean, I saw in an interview that Prince said that he decided he wanted to make music for a living at the age of like 12, and I would be a little skeptical if it didn't happen around that time for me myself in my own life,
Mhm.
you know. But I think that just in my experience, that under 10 is too soon to tell. A lot of people have natural aptitude for music, but not everybody can build their whole world around it,
sure,
you know.
sure.
And it also it costs. I mean, in any field, excellence costs a person something. Like you can't have everything. If you're going to pursue excellence in a field, you don't get to have the whole picture, you
Sure.
know.
You don't get to have a regular life.
Not at
That's for
all.
sure. Not
Yeah.
not at all. You're
So I
you're in a
think
rarefied air.
sure. Yeah. So in a way, it's like I'm watching Prince and I'm going, "Wow, okay. Well, I'm obviously following in the succession as a creative person. I mean, our goals in life were different enough, but in many ways, it's the business itself, it it forces you to set boundaries to protect yourself sometimes. You know, it's like you
Yeah.
can't be super, close with everybody, and it's like many days I watched him, and fans interact, and I just would think to myself, I don't want his life. I'm not happy to be a sideman sausage,
Sure.
because the kind of attention you get in a situation like that, I think that he enjoyed being, a star, but it's people will take from you whatever you will offer up, you know?
Yeah.
And if you hold back too much, then they say you're cold,
Right, right.
Sure.
but it's really a thing where it's like only you can understand the experience you're going through. It's like being in love, like believing in Jesus Christ. No one can really explain that to you.
Right.
It's your personal relationship and the context. So it's weird because you want, the instinct was to protect him,
Hmm.
because not only I mean, is he in a fragile position, but he's diminutive in stature,
Mhm.
Sure.
and so it's just an odd dynamic in that respect. I mean, but um, I'm not sure if I'm making any particular point. It just was like he everything from encourage me to just put my hands down and make a musical statement. I'm in a room with Levi and Sonny and Prince and Barbarella and and Rosie and Kirk, and I was 20, and Prince is like, well, come up with a beat for this. It's like a huge spotlight being put on you, going, okay, now do something great. you know.
Uh,
And the first few
yeah.
times I kind of squirm a bit, and and Prince noticed that I was apprehensive, and he said, you have to put your hands down and just, you have to start, you have to begin the process. You have to
Just
take
do it.
the first step in some direction if you're going to go anywhere. So, it's like you've got to identify the city before you can find the street. So you have to step out on some kind of intuition or artistic, so he made me a lot more confident about just not being as afraid of making mistakes as I was afraid of saying nothing. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like the instrument's got to speak. You've got to be saying something.
Oh. You've said a lot over the years, and with your hands, and I mean,
Okay. Well,
my when I think of your drumming, I think of two songs in particular, and that's Willing and Able.
Mhm.
Your pocket is just,
It's
dude.
tight.
I mean, and I'm in a Led Zeppelin covers band, believe it or not. I look like the guy who fixes your computer at Best Buy, but my
you a
drummer, I am not a drummer. I do the Robert Plant thing, believe it or not. So
You're the singer?
yes, sir.
I bet you're awesome, man.
I will send you. I'll send you some links. I'll send you some links.
I got to feel it. Okay.
When you do that kind of music, you cannot half-ass it. And
No,
and
you get all in. Yes.
You were in not a covers band, you were in a band where you were covering some songs that came before you, but here you are, you're covering songs that came before you, but then you're being forced and asked at the age of 20 to create for this man, in this pantheon of stuff. So when I think about like pocket grooves like Cream, Jesus Christ, that's just, I mean, and you make it seem easy, and simple pocket grooves, they're anything but simple to do them correctly and to keep the sense of swing. My other song that just blows every time, and I just listened to it at work today, is Shh.
Oh, wow.
Just,
Okay.
I mean, was that song in particular, when you talk about just put your hands down and play, Michael, was that an example of that?
Yeah, it took a minute because
Okay.
what was going on? I think we were shooting the was it the Beautiful Experience? Um, I'm sorry, that's my wife's phone. She'll have to.
That's okay. Hey.
It was a weekend where the Timberwolves were. There was a like a big like basketball NBA event going on in Minnesota,
Okay.
and Prince had a bunch of celebrities who were going to be at the Target Center come out to Paisley for this special show, you
Okay.
know, and that's pretty much the footage that comprises that the Beautiful Experience is comprised of. And that version of Shush was we kind of came up with it the day before. So I was still kind of trying to figure out like what am I saying here, you know, while we're even shooting it. Because if you'll notice, there's some differences between the studio version and the live version from that show.
Yeah.
Differences in what I played. I was
Sure.
not as sure of what I was doing at the party, but by the time we got to the studio with the song, I had organized my thoughts and figured out, you know, a narrative to base what I was playing on.
Wow.
Just hearing you describe, you're such a philosopher and a psychologist. You're not just a musician. This is what, so hear me out.
Uh-huh.
Good musicians can find the basic mechanics of the groove and all that stuff. Good musicians. Great musicians have a philosophy and a psychology behind that. And that is what embodies who you are, Michael, because every time I hear you explain stuff, and I've heard dozens of interviews you've done, you always have a psychology and a philosophy, and it goes deep. I mean, you throw references out like, you know, they're nothing, but you've taken considerable time and consideration and thought to how you put these together. I just want to say thank you for that, because it just blows. I've listened to Shush, I don't know how many times in the past several decades. It still blows me away because I can tell there's a thought. There is an intent, and you can
Yes.
hear that intent. It is palpable. The intent is palpable.
Yeah, I finally got there by the time it was
Well-
by the time we recorded it. But I'm saying it's, you know, there was a lot of trial and error, and it was like,
Yeah.
you know, we were like in rehearsal at Paisley, and Prince was just like, okay, Tevin Campbell doesn't want to sing this song, but if I'm going to do it, then we're going to have to, you know, make something out of it.
So,
Yeah.
you know, but there's a reason to say shush. I mean, you're playing all these wonderful flourishes and, you know, but they're well thought out and all that. But then you got to break it down. You
That's
gotta
right.
break it down. So you got all this, not cacophony, but you know what I mean. You got
Yeah.
all this organized noise, if you will.
Yeah, it's somebody actually pegged me for it. They said, "Oh, it's like a song called I Want to Be Free by the Ohio Players." It's a
Sure.
little like that.
Mm.
And you know, I guess I felt a little bit of imposter syndrome when they said that, but I was like, nah,
Oh.
I wasn't thinking of that, but it is a similar thing.
I'm
Yeah.
so glad you brought up that phrase, because truly great artists suffer from some degree of imposter syndrome. How much of that did you go through that in the beginning of your career with Prince, and how much of that now is pretty much subsided because of age and experience?
I think when I joined Prince's band, I was already playing in probably 2 or 3 cover bands. So
Sure.
I was used to learning, you know, how other people played things, and I'd take I'd take what I could from anything, you know, and kind of just, you know, use it for myself. So, I mean, I guess early on it was like, yeah, we weren't playing any of the music that I had recorded with Prince. So it was all covers to me. I was playing Kiss and, you know, 1999 and Baby I'm a Star and all that. So it felt a little like I was in like a really, really great cover band some nights. You
Sure.
know, for me, I mean, he was the author of all that, so his
Yeah.
perspective is different. But for me, it was just like, yeah, okay, yeah, take me with you. You know, yeah, just like I saw on the video. Yeah. So
Michael, can I ask you, because you know you've had these experiences, and obviously you were with arguably, you know, the biggest star in the world when you started, but at 19 or 20 years old, I
Yeah.
mean, you're traveling the world. It must have been a heady experience for you, but you're away from home at a young age. Can you kind of talk a little bit about how you navigated that?
Yeah, selfishly, um, because I was so absorbed by the job. I mean, it's funny because I think I might have called home one time in the 3.5 months that we were out. And my parents were like, finally, we've been just watching TV, hoping that we don't see any plane crashes. Like, you could have called home, you could have let somebody know something. But I mean, when you're in that world, it's like everything else takes a back seat,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah. And also long distance calls cost a lot of money. Now you can just call WhatsApp on the phone. You know, I mean, you don't
Yeah,
have
this
to
is
worry about that.
1990. So
Right.
it's,
Right.
yeah.
Hello.
hmm So, yeah, I mean, so I guess I really just, it was like full immersion,
Mhm.
you know? I just went with it. A lot like, I keep saying like the military, it's like, it's
Yep.
start getting hungry around the same time everybody else is. If you want to know where the mess hall is, you just follow the other soldiers. There was a lot of it was that. I just watched where Miko and Levi and Fink were going, and I just kind of tried to stay
Yeah.
close by.
You were with, yeah. So, Matt Fink, who is a very pivotal figure, not only from the Revolution, he's in the Love Sexy band. Oh, that's my first time I saw them was the Love Sexy tour. Jay, you were lucky enough to see the Purple Rain tour, but Love Sexy band was my first experience with Matt Bliston, who we just had on as a guest on our podcast earlier.
Yeah,
What a great, and a Pittsburgh guy,
yeah,
not
that's
far
true.
from here. Um, you were with Dr. Fink, who really, Matt, he's navigated several different bands by the time you came into the fold. How
Yeah.
much did you lean upon his wisdom or his guidance through that iteration of the band that you were in the early NPG days?
I Fink was in love and had met the love of his life
Andre.
at that time, so he
Mhm.
didn't have time to
Oh,
he was not setting any sort of example for me. He was,
okay.
he was flying with this woman around the world with us, and they didn't have eyes for anybody but each other.
Oh,
So, but I mean, what's ironic is that Fink is the only guy from that, from the early days that I really have kind of a regular sort of relationship with. Like he subbed with my band before, and
Mhm.
yeah,
I've and he's just he's I think it's therapeutic for he and I to talk,
sure.
uh, because I think I answer questions for him about what Prince evolved into, and he answers questions from me about like how did this whole thing get started?
Yeah.
Like what was he from the very beginning? You know,
Almost like a military debriefing session, but
Sorta.
decades
I mean,
later,
and a
after
lot
the
of the
fact.
stuff is just it's too deep or too personal
Sure.
to really podcast. But it's interesting when you have people who are in different chapters of the same book, and they
Yeah.
get to compare notes.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah,
And I've had him on before. He's a lovely guy. Just can play those keys. But from going to him to Tommy Barbarella, Tommy Elm, but
yeah,
you knew him because you guys had played together already, in the Steels,
that's
he was
right.
in the Steels and what have you. So that was a much easier transition when he came into the fold.
I don't
Not
know
for
that
him,
Barbarella.
but not for him, but
Oh, well, for whom are you saying it was easier?
well, it was easier for you maybe because you knew him, but maybe not necessarily easier for Tommy
Oh,
because he's coming in. I think the first gig he plays is Rock in Rio, correct?
that's right.
Yeah.
Mm. Um,
Oof. Woof.
yeah, Sonny and Tommy and I, we knew each other from just being in Minneapolis
Sure.
and sometimes being on the same gigs.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I'm not sure if anything got easier at that point for any of us.
Well,
That
sure.
was really
Right.
like, I mean, it's Fink's story to tell, but Fink was going to do the Rock in Rio gig, but he had a
Another.
conflict of interest, a business situation.
Yes. Yeah.
you know.
He
So
he did share that. He did share
yeah,
that with me. Yeah. Yeah.
so he kind of knew the writing was on the wall, and Tommy had already come out on the nude tour to play keyboards behind Mavis Staples during the UK leg.
Oh,
Um,
would have loved to seen that.
so
Oh,
that band was a combination of well, it was me and Doug Nelson, Billy Franzi, and Margaret Cox from Dr. Mambo's Combo, the seminal, Minneapolis band, still playing downtown every
okay.
Sunday at Bunkers. And
Bonkers.
it was also Sonny. So it's Sonny, Tommy, Doug, Billy, Margaret, and me backing up Mavis. And then on top of that, I mean, I was playing with Mavis, and then I was going to change clothes and come back out with Prince. Prince would follow me out and to the stage, and once I got to the drums, he would split off and he'd sit down, and his guitar tech would bring him his guitar, and Prince would jam along with the rest of us during
Oh,
Mavis's set.
oh, Jesus.
So I mean, it was so much funk. Billy and Sonny and Prince on
Oh,
guitar at the same time, man, it was incredible. It
I,
was incredible.
heady days indeed. Now, did you guys do anything from her solo album that he produced, Time Waits for No One? Any of that material that you can recall? I mean, that's
Yeah,
a long time ago.
no, we did Jaguar. We
Oh,
did uh we
Train.
did Time Waits for No One.
Oh, I love that song.
But I think the other songs in the set were like I'll Take You There
Sure,
and
Staples
Respect
singers.
Yourself.
Sure.
And yeah, I mean it was only probably about 6 songs, 6 or 7.
Oh, yeah. I
I
mean,
mean, yeah.
what that whole Paisley Park label stuff. I hope they re-release some of that stuff and properly remaster it because that Time Waits for No One is a really great album. It really
There's a
is.
lot of really good songs on it. I agree.
Um,
Michael,
Crazy About You. Oh my God. I mean, you know,
Come Home. Uh
baby, won't you please come home?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
No,
wanna
lot of good songs on that.
know. Yes.
Mhm.
Michael, you've played with a lot of different artists, and so can you kind of take us through the transition's not the right word, but when you're approaching a new project, um, what is your preparation? What is your methodology? Are you drawing back on past experiences, or is it a more collaborative with the artist that you're working with? Can you take us through that process?
Sure, but I'm realizing now that maybe it's different all the time. Um, I mean, when I had the pleasure of touring with Chaka Khan for about a year and a half, I mean, there was nothing to study because I have an older sister who had all of Shaka Khan's records and she played them nonstop.
Yeah.
So I didn't need anything except for them to rent the right drums. You
Mhm.
know, that was part of the musical landscape of my childhood. Steve Ferrone was the
Oh,
drummer in the Average White Band and also
yep.
played on the Shaka records. So that was a dream come true. That was a like some kind of communion, like of the spirits. Like Shaka, I had never met anybody like her in my life.
I'm sure.
Mhm.
She's just this incredible force of nature, and ironically doesn't get enough credit as a songwriter.
No.
You know,
No.
like, she's really heavy. I mean, I think I learned more about womanhood reading the lyrics to Chaka Khan's songs than I have from any woman I ever spoke to. That she has a way of putting things, you know. Um, but just it's just her overall representation. She just she's bad, man. You know,
Yeah.
the can't nobody touch her.
Yep.
You
Yep.
know, Shaka is one of a kind
It's an icon.
All
as a
these
vocalist, as
decades.
a person.
Yeah.
But
All,
I guess so. I'm saying that was really no prep, really. Um, but strangely enough, when I toured with a guy named Paul Westerberg, who's from Minneapolis, from a
yes.
band called The Replacements,
Yep. Yep.
um, I really had to like get educated on what that was. So I went to Electric Fetus and I bought probably I bought probably 5 or 6 Replacements records, and Paul had one solo album out at the time, and another, the next one was coming out, and I actually played on 2 songs on it. That's an album called Eventually.
Okay.
So that I had to really kind of up my street IQ, on, because, when I was a kid, I was a snob, and music like that didn't really turn me on at all, to be honest. Like, I didn't really understand what he was doing until I got into it, and I was a little older and could appreciate it for what it was.
Sure.
But, they had just the most awful reputation of just sort of, just just playing crappy shows, and they don't care, and they could be so much better than that, man. And, they were on Saturday Night Live, and Paul said a curse word to Bob Stinson.
Right.
It was like, come on, play, you mother, and I guess you couldn't really hear it on TV, but I heard that the people that were in the audience could hear it very clear.
Oh, okay.
Before
So
there was
Michael
Oasis,
like,
there
"You'll
was.
never play on," of course they made up later, but so it was a different attitude, and it's it's so I'm saying it's, and then with Soul Asylum, it was I mean, you're talking about 4 or 5 bona fide like alt rock hits for sure.
Yeah.
So I knew what it was about, but and Dave Perner and I, we kind of knew each other, but not musically. Like, he didn't really know, where I was coming from, and
Sure.
I could tell that Bob Dylan had been a big influence on him, just the way he turns phrases and whatnot. But it didn't really get super heavy until we started working on a record called The Silver Lining. It was the first record. I was just supposed to be the studio guy. They didn't have a permanent drummer at the time, and while we were rehearsing the new music, somebody asked Soul Asylum to play at a benefit. And so they were like, well, hey, there's no budget because it's a benefit, but if you want to play with us, we'd love to have you. I said, yeah, okay, sure. So then we got into rehearsal playing some of their older music, and Dave just stops in the middle of like the second song. It's, hey, man, why don't you just join the effing band, man? And I took about 5 seconds and I went, all right, man. Okay.
Nice.
That was sometime in 05. And
Okay.
it's what, 2024 now. So
I'm so glad you're bringing this up, because I want to know the comparison and contrast to your drum setup. What kind of drums kit you're working with versus what you would have done with Prince. And I'm sure, or is there a difference?
yeah, Prince always liked for there to be, a lot of drums. He was a big fan of Billy Cobham when he
Sure.
was a kid. And, he just thought that was a good look.
Yeah, sure. Right. Visually,
So my
it looks
first tour
cool
with
too.
Prince, I'm playing a Yamaha recording custom series kit, but the kick drum is like 26 by 14, like a Bonham kick.
Yeah.
And then
Like the
shallow
like the
tom.
Ludwig
Oh,
Sparkle, like the Ludwig Sparkle.
no, this was like a black kit with like a
Oh.
gold or
That.
like
Yeah.
pewter or some kind of gold substitute hardware on it.
Sure.
And the tom sizes were 12, 13, 15, 16-inch floor tom, 18-inch floor tom.
Okay.
Like, I mean, I was grabbing, man. It was like,
Got a good
just trying to
arm
hit
workout.
everything.
Got a good arm workout, right?
Oh man, yeah, no, I could never work like that now. It's just everything was so far spaced out. But with Soul Asylum, all I really need is a 4 or 5 piece.
Sure. Yeah.
It just I guess that gig usually I'll just 12, 16, 22.
You still Yamaha drums or different?
Yeah, I've been with Yamaha for real since about 97. I
Okay.
tried to get an endorsement with them when I was working for Prince, but Prince didn't allow logos on stage or anything. So
Except his own.
it was a big sticking point for them, even though Sheila, was playing Yamaha on the road with them, and but her family's got a long relationship with that company.
Sure.
I'm not trying to compare. I'm
No,
just
no.
saying they did it for her. They wouldn't do it for me. But then when they finally heard that I was out, like I think actually it was like in '97, I was
Okay.
rehearsing with Maxwell, and
Right.
my drum tech, James McGregor, otherwise known as Magoo, he he saw like a list of names and numbers in the office at in the drum department office at Center Staging, and he just started calling around, and what did he do? He managed to get me an endorsement with Vic Firth
Sure.
and with
Sticks.
Remo, just like in that instance right there. And then
Hmm.
another guy, I think his name was Mike Johnson from Columbus, Ohio. He was
Okay.
kind of doing some like kind of acting as my agent, sort of. And he finally connected me with the right person at Yamaha. And it's there's a guy who's known by the name of Hagi from Japan.
Okay.
Hagi was like the guy who really pushed the brand along. Like a lot of his innovations are what made Yamaha really stand out. And I guess Hagi was holding a candle for me. He had been watching my progress and been waiting waiting to find out when I was available. And he sent a gentleman named John Whitman, who still works for Yamaha, as far as I know.
Okay.
And he just called me and said, "Hey, listen, I've been told by Hagi to take your order down for your first set of drums from Yamaha, free of charge, obviously, and so on and so forth." And it's just been like Christmas, like every year.
Wow.
Ever since, they've been so good to me. I can't put it into words. It's solved a lot of issues for me.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of the innovations that Yamaha did, what in particular spoke to you? The innovations. What about the innovations were beneficial to you?
It was always about the hardware to me.
Okay.
The main reason to have Yamaha drums is to have that hardware, because of like the rolling ball socket type mechanism,
Yeah.
and like the yes mounting system, like the short stems, but the maximum resonance of the shells. I just all their hardware was just better.
Okay.
I doubt if you could find anybody to disagree with me.
Okay.
You know,
Cool. Now, cymbals wise, are you working with Pace, Zildjian? What are you
with
working
Zildjian
with?
actually.
Okay,
And
Zildjian.
yeah, Sheila had been endorsed by Paiste, so there was
Sorry,
a lot
I
of.
mispronounced it. Paiste, right?
It's all right. There was a lot of them, laying around the studio, but
Yeah.
I just never. That was not really a sound I identified with.
Okay. Hey.
I'd been playing Zildjian since I was a kid, and it's just what I wanted.
Hey.
And they actually didn't really give me a hard time at all. They were happy to sign me up.
Cool.
Yeah.
And in terms of stick, I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir.
No, it's okay.
In terms of your drumsticks, the thickness, what are you working with when you normally play drums? What's comfortable? What's a comfortable size for you?
Well, I mean, when I was a kid, I used to like to swing the two Bs,
Wow.
But I was a bit of an ecological hazard. Somebody called me. They looked at the carpet underneath where I've been playing, and it was just wood chips everywhere, and just, hey man, you like an ecological hazard. What's wrong with you? Yeah, I mean, I Vic Firth was always the stick that I wanted to be playing,
Okay.
and I actually have a the weight of my sticks is not a weight you can get in retail. It's a little heavier than a normal 5A, but not by much. I don't know what else to say about it. Like, wood tip. It's strange that you should bring that up, because I had been thinking lately about trying some thinner sticks, because there's a different.
For the repertoire that you're playing, there's a different feel that you have to have with the thickness of the stick.
Yeah, kind of. Like it's kind of, the 5As are good for just spanking them, but there's a finesse, there's a thing, there's a different attack with a smaller stick and a certain kind of shape of the bead. I can't remember the name of the model, but I'm actually going to have to get in touch with Vic Firth soon to get a couple pairs. It's like a jazz stick they make, like a something E something.
Okay.
I can't remember. My drum tech just handed one to me, and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool, man! Like an ESJ or something."
Okay.
And then he tells me, he's like, "Oh, well, Steve Jordan has an endorsement with Vic Firth. I have some of his sticks in the car, and his sticks are like extra long." And it's like it really does, the stick really does give a different character
Sure.
to the sound when you're hitting it. It's like I
Of course.
think I've underestimated that all these years.
Physics.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's
You'd think
physics you're
that.
dealing with. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean,
Michael-
you don't want me playing drums, but I just love hearing all this stuff because I know there are a lot of my drummer friends are here. I don't say drum. Whenever I introduce my drummer, I say percussionist. You're not just a drummer. You're
All right, well,
some
of us are just drummers. It's all right.
not. You're not.
Well,
You're a
listen, if you heard
maestro.
me playing the tambourine, you'd shriek. I cannot play percussion. I'm an awful tambourine player.
Michael, when Kurt and I were doing prep for this, and Kurt, I'm going to ask the question that you and I both want to talk about.
Yes.
Can you talk about Guns N' Roses?
Oh, thank you, Jay. I went off the reservation.
That's all. We'll get you right back on that reservation here. Well, okay. Clearly, you heard a rumor that I auditioned for Guns N' Roses,
Between you
and
and
it's
Brandon.
true. It was at a time when I think that Josh Freese was trying to figure out what he was doing. I think A Perfect Circle had just put their record out or something.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, I want to do this and I want to do that. And they did, I guess Guns N' Roses was really playing it by ear. So, they were like, well, go ahead and go, man. I mean, we can't guarantee the gig will be here when you get back, but, do what you got to do.
Yeah.
And so I was headed to Los Angeles for the NAMM show anyway. And so I was like, yeah, I'll be out there next week. I can come to, where were they set up? They were set up at Rumbo in North Hollywood.
Rumbo
They had
Records.
been in there working on the Chinese democracy for like 3 years, something like that, probably.
17 years eventually before it came out.
You're
Jesus Christ.
I was telling people, I'm like, I might be on that record because I did do some recording with them, like intermittently during the time I was hanging out.
Do you remember the songs that you like? If the World, or do you remember any of the titles of the
I couldn't
songs?
tell you
were in?
anything,
Okay.
man.
Okay.
I had 2 new blood blisters by the time they let me out of that place.
Jesus. Okay.
Yeah. But it was, I mean, it was a childhood friend of Axel's. I think his name was John something.
Okay.
And it was also I gotta remember the name of this guitar player, Robin Fink.
Oh,
Robin Fink
Nine
was
Inch
playing
Nails.
guitar.
9 Inch Nails. Yeah.
Robin Fink was there. I think that Dizzy Reed might have been there.
Dizzy, sure. What about Buckethead? Was Buckethead part of it?
No,
Bumblefoot,
It was
Ron Tall, Bumblefoot Tall.
no. It looked like he might have been like a Hispanic guy who was a bass tech, was just playing bass for the sake of us getting through.
The fuck was his name? Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about. They
Okay.
had so much personnel in those 17. I mean, hello.
I'm sure.
You went through the whole fucking Rolodex by the time. I mean, can we use that term Rolodex still? You went through the whole goddamn phone book by the time he got to, finish the
Oh no,
album.
yeah, and I'm sure that it was just somebody probably just was like, "Hey, I wonder what that guy's doing. We should probably have him out." Like I mean, I guess I did swing for the fence, but I didn't have any real sense that it was like they were going to be like, "You're the guy, man," just because I mean, it's unfortunately in this business, things got to look a certain kind of way as well as sound a certain kind of way.
Oh, Jesus.
And yeah, I'm not accusing anybody of anything.
No, I would go there for you.
I'm just saying, it's like, y'all gonna need to get a Samoan in here to play keyboards. You're gonna have to get a Chinese man over here doing the like
Shit.
if it's gonna work. I mean, but case in point, I mean, later on, Who said that? Frank, what's his name? The drummer. The black dude that ended up playing drums with Guns N' Roses. With Tommy Stinson on bass. Frank somebody. I can't remember his last name.
Oh, I can't either. God damn it.
Well, and Michael, part of the reason why I asked that question is because you're comfortable playing in any genre, correct? I mean, obviously you can do the funk thing, you can do the rock thing, you can do the jazz thing, right?
I know how not to stick out like a sore thumb. Like, which one of these kids is playing the wrong stuff?
Gotcha.
I can do that. If I'm very good, I can musically I can hide. Like, I've probably been on some records and you didn't know it was me.
All right, give us an example.
Sure.
Well, okay. There's a song called Seven Things by Miley Cyrus.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yes.
I'm drumming on that.
So you got a little Disney paper. That's all right. Ain't nothing wrong
I got
with that.
plenty of Disney paper. I also one of my best friends produced the Jonas Brothers.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. Well,
yeah. He kept me plenty busy. I mean, and also that ended up dovetailing into a whole thing with Nick Jonas and the Administration, where I got to reunite with my Prince buddies and my friends on bass. So it's I've had a good run, and I've stayed in a pretty strong circle.
Not a bad little connect the dots universe there.
Not at all. Not at all. We had a lot of fun. That brought a lot of joy to people. And that's ultimately what it's all about. I mean,
Just to throw it out there, any classical repertoire? Have you ever been asked to do anything symphonic or anything in that realm? You're talking to a former opera singer. That's why I asked.
Oh, okay. Well, as close as I've gotten to that was probably when I was in France working for.
Oh, the pop singer there. Yeah.
For France Gall.
Right.
The great Charles Aznavour, the Armenian singer.
Yeah.
He was a guest star on a show that was televised on French television, and you'll see me in like my my blueberry 3/4 coat and my black ruffles, and I'm playing the timpani behind this dude. So that's about as close as I got.
Okay.
And he's saying La Mama.
La Mama Morta. Yeah. Oh,
Ave Maria. He played that. Me and Sonny are back there trying to look serious, trying to play that music. Put some funk into it, Sonny. Come on, man.
So that kind of music could use a little chicken grease from every now and again. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah. Listen, the French know chicken grease can do a whole lot.
Yep.
Wow.
Listen.
Or duck grease, duck fat, whatever that.
Reminds me of James Brown and Pavarotti. Remember when they got together?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Exactly.
Thank you, Chris.
Sure.
Yep. It could be an iteration of that, but I mean, no, we really played it straight. We just, tried to respect the music, and, I mean, I have, experience with like wind ensemble in high school,
Cool. Yeah.
So yeah, I do have that much. Like if you put my feet to the fire, I can sort of read.
You went to Prince University. Of course you can.
Well, yeah, I mean, ironically, Prince. Yeah, but no, I mean, yeah, sure. It might be a good thing to have in your back pocket, but I mean, Prince never wrote music down like that.
No, correct.
He was a friend of mine who actually sort of knew him asked him, like, why wouldn't you want to learn how to notate? And Prince, what he said was that he had developed his own sort of style of, writing. It's like he wasn't really interested in changing it or seeing, he didn't have these standards or these, like, if it sounds good, it is good. Really.
Yeah, sure.
It was kind of Prince's attitude. It was like, I'm not concerned about the rules because, they're innovative people breaking rules all the time. Bartok broke rules all the time.
Bela Bartok, sure. Yeah.
Duke Ellington broke the rules all the time. Charlie Parker broke the rules all the time. So this attitude that sometimes goes with like, well, this music is the music of another kind, and it's like,
Yep.
Music is really just music. There's a way to do anything. I agree, but it's important that that people keep their ears open.
I tell anybody,
so important. and not
Yep.
just to what you like. Like you really
Oh.
have to,
Oh,
you know,
sure.
like you really have to challenge yourself. Try to, you know, try to see what you can understand, what might expand your head, you know?
Wow.
Do yourself a favor and look up Peter Grimes by Benjamin Britten, an opera that I have sung in many before. You know, people talk about how difficult Russian opera is to sing, and it's mainly linguistic. One of the most difficult pieces I ever sang in an ensemble chorus at Washington National Opera at the Kennedy Center was Benjamin Britten's Peter Grimes. The orchestra wasn't accompanying you. They were a separate entity to what was going on vocally on the top. You were on your own. If you didn't know how to count, you didn't know how to find your goddamn notes. You wasn't getting it from the orchestra, bro.
Oh
You
boy.
were not getting it from the orchestra. Benjamin Britten had compartmentalized everything to the point where you were a cog in the machine. And if your cog didn't know where to fit, you were screwed.
Yeah.
So,
I can only imagine what that
woo!
was like.
Let me tell you. But I learned a lot, but I was pushed.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
I learned, I grew from it, because you don't grow if you don't do stuff difficult. If you don't do difficult repertoire, you don't grow as an artist. Bottom line,
Absolutely.
full stop. You don't.
I agree 100%. I will add this little comment though, because
Please.
when I was in high school, Wynton Marsalis came to perform with the Minnesota Orchestra. It was what's it? Carnival
Des Animaux,
Carnival
Sassons.
Venice.
Oh,
He did with the Minnesota Orchestra, and he lost his place in the score at some point, and they had to stop. And so many of the trumpet players in wind ensemble in high school went to see that show, and they were just mortified, like, you know, because everybody held Wynton Marsalis so up on such a high pedestal, and he contributed to that by, you know, chastising his brother Branford for playing with Sting and all that. You know, like, you're out there playing that kiddie music, man. Why don't you play something that, you know, that's good, that'll move the culture forward? Why don't you play music that'll, you know,
talk to Eric Leeds. His guy is Branford Marsalis.
Yeah,
they're good friends. They've become good friends over the year. First thing that Branford Marsalis did is come up to Eric. He shared this story with me. He says, first time they ever met, he goes, "Did you write that line for Rock Hard in a Funky Place?" He says, "Yeah, that was." He said, "I knew Prince couldn't write that shit," and gave him a big bear hug. His exact. And you know Eric. You've met Eric. You've talked to him.
I love Eric.
So do we.
I have such an immense respect for that man.
He can compose like a motherfucker.
Shout out to Eric Leeds. Shout out to Eric Leeds.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Crucial.
And my Branford story goes a little like this.
Ooh, I want to hear this.
I was in the pit orchestra for the Apollo, like the 78th anniversary show.
Oh.
I was playing with, like, you know, I like the faceless drummer in the pit, that guy.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm hanging around because Herbie Hancock and Harry Connick Jr. Are going to do Caravan. They're going to push two pianos together. And I'm like, you know, I'm about to watch Herbie eat this white boy up. This is going to be great. Like, I'd be pooping my pants if I was Harry Connick Jr. You're going to face off with Herbie? And I look up. Well, not only is Herbie, like, playing and looking through his attaché case at the same time, you know, and saying what's up to some of the, hey, what's going on, man? And not missing a note. I look up and Branford is standing next to me. And I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. And we've never met.
Yeah.
And they stopped playing that Michael Bland. Yeah. You're bad. You know, he went straight in with it, man. I know about you. I know about you, man. And then he calls Jeff Watts on the phone. He calls Tane. He's like, yeah, man, we're big fans, man. And so then I'm talking to these guys. These guys were the baddest dudes walking the planet. When I was probably 14, I had Wynton Marsalis quintet. I had Think of One, and I had
Mhm.
another record called Black Codes from the Underground.
Okay.
And those records were on just like auto reverse cassettes all
Okay.
night
Oh
long.
yeah. Uh-huh.
You
Uh-huh.
know, and so it was really surreal to have Branford say anything to me. He didn't know who I was even, was like, wow. And the only other
Yeah.
moment I had similar to that rivals the magnitude was I met Kiss at the Minneapolis St. Paul airport.
Which
I'm getting a
era?
cinnamon bun, and I look up, and Paul Stanley's grabbing an orange juice, and I said, "Hey man, I have all your records," and he said, "Don't you play drums for Prince?" And I was like, "Well, there it is.
What? Okay.
That's life in full circle."
So now that you opened that door, okay, favorite Kiss album. I gotta know.
Destroyer.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Sorry.
Cool. No. What? Sorry about what? Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right.
I
think you thought I was bluffing.
I didn't.
Okay.
Michael.
You know what? And the reason I like that record so much is because that was like the one that they were really going for, like the musical, like they had like, you know, the orchestral instruments on it.
Not songs from the Elder. Music from the Elder. See, you didn't think you thought I was bluffing.
Yeah, okay. They were trying, man. They were trying.
With Bob Ezrin. With Bob Ezrin.
Yes, Bob. Yes. But
The Wall.
Yeah. Well, wait a minute. Who produced Destroyer? Was it the guy who produced Led Zeppelin? What's his name?
Somebody Google it.
He produced Jimi Hendrix also.
Oh.
You know who I'm talking about.
Yes, I do. I can't produce Kiss Destroyer.
I think he produced Kiss Alive.
And Bob Ezrin. Bob Ezrin. Yeah,
Bob.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was Ezrin too.
All right.
You got to remember at that time, I think he was vacillating between him and Alice Cooper.
Oh yeah. That's a lot of like fake blood in one person's career. Alice Cooper and Kiss, and it's a lot of food dye and
good enough for him and his manager to get a fucking house in Maui.
No, absolutely no. I think Destroyer is their best record, straight up and down.
So you like a God of Thunder, huh? You're a God of Thunder guy. Okay.
Yeah, but I also like that record's got King of the Nighttime World on it.
Jesus. Okay.
It's got Detroit Rock City for sure.
Sure. Yeah.
And Do You Love Me? Beth is on that record.
But this proves my point, Michael. What don't you know? See, you're a lover of music. It doesn't matter. That's why we're bringing all these different references out. And I'm sorry, guys, I'm monopolizing a little bit, but I'm geeking out because that's what a great musician does. Not a good musician, Michael. A great musician is a student of all genres and takes something from every genre and makes it their own. That's what makes you a great musician, not just a good musician. That's the point. That's the point.
Agreed.
And take your flowers, because I'm talking about you.
All right.
I'm looking at you. I'm
taking them. Okay, shucks.
Take it, baby. Take it. But no, seriously, thank you for just letting us. Chris, I know you've had a couple of questions that you've been dying to ask the man, because I know you know.
Well, I don't know. I had this big philosophical thing, but it doesn't make really any sense now that I'm thinking about it. But I just, Michael, I would love to, not to be selfish, but I would love to have you on my show because I love how you tell stories and you're philosophical with it, and you go deep with things, and you speak from the heart, and I love that. But I would just like to pick your brain about the New Power Trio, specifically one of the projects that I think that very few outside the hardcore, Purple Funketeers know about, which is the Undertaker session. I would just love to to pick your brain about that and maybe go track by track sometime. But it has been
Okay,
so
well,
great.
we can do that on your show. I mean, you're gonna have
Yeah.
to come up with more to talk about than that because that's kind of a short story, man.
Okay, okay.
That's
Well,
it's
maybe we can talk about music and philosophy and inspiration and all that because I know you alluded to it earlier about how Prince puts a spotlight on people, but he also pushes them to go outside of themselves and be the best they can be, and in some aspects even better than they think they could be, but
Mhm.
as good as he knows that they could be, and that's part of the reason why a small part of the reason why Prince is a big hero to me and always will be. So we can get into a little of that as well,
Sure. That's great.
because that's a that's a conversation I always wished I would have had the opportunity to sit down with Prince and have with Prince, because
Yeah.
he's been a big motivating force and a big source of light and inspiration in terms of motivating me to be the best I could be,
Yeah.
emotionally, spiritually, um, intellectually, so we can talk a little bit about that as well. But
Sure.
it has been such a pleasure,
Oh,
speaking for myself, to be here tonight and sort of be a fly on the wall. And Kurt and Jay, you got all the great questions and all the
Jesus.
great things to follow up with. But it has just been a pleasure to be here. And like I say, Michael, as you being a part of the original MPG, you're one of my OG heroes. So it's great to connect with you and chop it up. And I know we've briefly talked before on Messenger,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm a big fan. So this has been a treat for me, and Kurt and Jay are my homeboys. So guys, I appreciate you. I'm very blessed for your connection and your friendship and your
You're only yeah,
opportunity
Got
of
you.
letting me be here tonight. So
Chris. You're
I
only as good as
appreciate
the
you
yeah.
guys.
We miss you too. You're only good as the company you keep in life, and we always try to keep good company. And Jay and I have talked about this before. You get over 50. We're all except you, Chris, but you're an old soul,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you get to a certain age and station where you just can't be around people. You want to be around excellent company with positive vibes and good food, good
yeah.
conversation, good wine,
That's
good
right.
spirits, of course, for me.
Good
And and,
bourbon.
and you good bourbon. Thank you. You know me too well. And but you just want as the world right now, and Michael, before we went to air, about how divided everything is in the world right now, in our nation and stuff. It says we have good company, good discussions about thoughtful subjects because art matters. Art in the cultural arts in this world matters. And I think the narrative is the clarion call for the arts to unify rather than divide is the clarion call that we need to heed each and every day of our lives, that those of us who are musicians and have a musical component in our lives, because we
Right,
need that more than ever. More than ever. It is just so urgent. And
right. And although I'm not a musician, I don't consider myself a musician. I am a lover of music, and I believe music is the most spiritual medium, and it's the most
yeah,
spiritual art form there is. It's the
amen.
highest, most spiritual art form there is. So,
Yep.
people like you, Kurt, who sing, and Michael, you drum and you play little keyboards here and there. You guys are in tune with that spiritual vibe and the art form that is music. So
Yeah.
I appreciate musicians. I love musicians, and any chance I get to give people their flowers who contribute to that art form, um, I'm down for it, man, because like I say, music, and in particular Prince's music, and Michael, you were a part of that. Prince's music brought me closer to my higher self, but more important than that, it brought me closer to God. It brought me closer to spirituality. It brought me closer to who I am as a child of God. And Prince was a big part of that. And Michael, as part of the MPG, you were part of that as well. So I cannot understate the gratitude that I have for everything that all Prince associates have done. And it's very important and very gratifying for me to talk about, because it's, I've been a Prince fan since I was 3 years old. I consider
Yes.
myself OG Prince fan, even though I was only, I'm a dirty mind baby. I was born in 1980. So, but I still consider myself OG because I've been a fan since, 1999 Purple Rain.
Oh,
And, it's a huge part of my life. And, I'm just very grateful for everybody who's been part of the Purple universe. And as my good buddy Richard Cole says, from Amari Purple Talk on YouTube, shout out to Richard. He says we're all part of the Purple Singularity. That's what he calls it, the Purple Singularity. So
All right.
I truly believe that, and I'm honored to be a part of it and lend my voice and do my small part with my podcast to spread the joy and spread the love and spread the positivity. So
Yes, sir.
very grateful.
Chris, always, you always from the heart, and really appreciate that. I'm going to bring it back to Kiss for just a minute because you said a word.
Yes.
Okay.
When Prince passed away, CNN had actually interviewed Gene Simmons, and he described Prince as a singularity.
Wow.
He could produce, write, direct. Well, listen, say what you will about Gene Simmons, man. The man could,
I'm going to step in just for a minute,
yes, please.
Before we let you go. Can you just talk really quickly about the Brothers Project? And
I'll be happy to. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was going to say, am I going to get a chance to move some t-shirts?
Yes.
I was going to, no. I had the music queued for you already and everything. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
Are you dialing it up now or?
I had it on here. I had it on here. Technology is great when it works, and when the operator who's working it.
Well,
the wonders of technology, ladies and gentlemen. Live broadcast right here.
Yeah, talk about being put out to pasture.
Oh, it's all right.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jay, please.
So, Michael, can you tell us, about the project? We've all been, listening and looking, but we'd love to hear from you.
I mean, it's how do I explain? Really, I guess. I mean, we just have the one single out right now, which is "Brother." It's me and Sonny. We're brothers, and during the pandemic, I was missing a lot of people, but Sonny, I hadn't seen him for a while, right before that. I had been on tour with Soul Asylum from February of 2020. And I hadn't seen much of Sonny at the end of the year. So, by the time it got to be like May, or June, it was like we were on the road and then we came home like mid-March. All the clubs shut down and the bus turned around and came back to Minneapolis. And I guess I was doing a lot of people did not enjoy the pandemic, but for me, it was cathartic.
Yeah.
It was the first time in my life I really had the time to sit and go, are you pleased with yourself? Are you pleased with who you've become as a person? Aside from, with music always feels good to play, but it's, I think there is for me, there's a delineation. There's a differential, because that's a realm that I enter into where I see and hear everything differently. Like it's much more. I think that I'm a pretty easygoing person. Otherwise,
Yeah.
like I'm pretty relaxed. I get along with pretty much everybody, even people I don't necessarily care for. But 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 with music, it's like music tells the truth. It's like if you have to be in agreement when you're playing music. And if you got issues with somebody, you have to set them aside while you're playing music. Otherwise, you ruin the experience for everybody. So I don't know why I said all that, but I'm thinking about it now. I got back home and I started thinking about a lot of things, and Sonny was one of the people I missed the most. And I had started working on this song. I didn't really have any words yet, and it was like, well, wow, what is this? This is kind of a Billy Preston sort of thing meets kind of a Beatlesy sort of thing. Like I'm not sure what this is.
Yeah.
And then
I thought it sounded like "Why Can't We Be Friends" by War. Actually.
Yes, it is. Yeah, exactly. It's also that. But I guess I just started really reflecting on like what is the reality of my relationship with this person, because it's very easy to be because Sonny and I, we've toured the world together.
Yeah.
We've been friends since probably 1988. And in that time, we've been through it all. We've been through times where we weren't speaking to each other. We've been through times where we were angry with each other. But somebody said it. I didn't say it, but I'll say it now. That the real test of friendship is what can it sustain sometimes. Like with your friends, you got to be able to be real with them. Otherwise, it's like you have to be able to relate on the most basic level. I feel like if you're gonna call somebody your friend, like they got to get you to the point where they're not offended by your little quirks and idiosyncrasies, or even maybe your viewpoint. You know what I mean? Like it's okay to have differences, but in all these years, it's like Sonny and I, there hasn't been one grievance either of us have had that has ever taken us out of alignment or interrupted our relationship as people. Like we've been pretty resilient as musicians and as friends, and I wanted to really kind of say something about that. And it's funny because the song took me long enough to finish writing, to the point where it's like I saw society completely change into this sort of I saw the rise of Me Too and the and the and the very initial discussions about toxic masculinity. And I really hadn't thought about the song from that perspective until like these other phenomena started to sort of manifest. And I guess what I'm saying is that in this particular day and age, I don't want to get on any pedestal. I'm not trying to preach, but to navigate society as just a cisgender male, it's I said to somebody, I said, this is probably the closest I could ever feel to being like an in the closet racist person, because there are so many things you can say that people are so ready to get offended about. It's like, wow, this is what it must feel like to some guy who hates like all the ethnic races, but knows if he says one word, the society is going to just, pulverize him. So it's like, in the interest of getting people's pronouns correct, and in the interest of, what I mean? It's a lot. It's a lot for a 55-year-old person to handle. But I realize the significance and the why it's important.
It's a beautiful song. It really is, because you really you give a message of love to your brother Sonny Thompson.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like men are afraid to feel anything in this day and age. And that's the thing. The thing about music is that if you don't involve your feelings, nothing happens. So
right.
that's what I guess I'm really trying to say is that people weren't really writing, don't really write this kind of music now. And I just
No.
saw like there was an absence. It's like men are afraid to say they love each other. I say I love you to almost every musician I work with on a regular basis. They know that I love and appreciate them, because I say so. It's and there's nothing strange or odd about it. Nothing needs to be called into question. It's simple. It's direct,
Hmm.
And so I guess I wasn't really striking a blow for for anybody in particular, but I was just trying to single out, like, hey, it's all right. It's all right to have genuine care for your brethren,
Yeah, and I think masculinity in general, we need more of that. We need more of that. It needs to be normalized, for
Well, I
for
don't know if it needs to be normal. It's been plenty normalized,
well, yeah. But I
but
mean, it
I'd say
needs to
that
be
it needs to be dealt with in proper proportion, maybe.
right. There you go. There you go.
Like not as more important, but equally important at least.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
Let everybody have some say.
Sure.
I mean, I consider myself a sensitive guy, so I felt that. I felt that what you said, Michael, about telling people you love them, and it's not. There's nothing wrong in and of itself about
No.
that, and I think that needs to be more common knowledge. Is all I'm saying.
I agree. I mean, I think that. I mean, I don't. I guess I don't. Again, I don't want to religify the discussion. It's just like I just think.
Well,
No, it just
that's okay. You can listen.
I'm not trying to go there, man, because I don't. Everybody's life is different, and
Sure.
life in general is kicking the crap out of everybody every day.
Yep.
And I don't need to be misunderstood in one more interview. I'm for everybody. I'm on everybody's team. If what you want in life, just involves personal fulfillment and doesn't interrupt anybody else's flow, go for it.
Yep.
Yes. Wow. Yep.
I mean,
Well-
I don't. I'm not a respecter of persons, but I'll give everybody theirs. I don't care where they come from, what their orientation is. I'm not hung up on any of that. So I guess I'm just saying, love all, serve all.
Absolutely.
That's it.
To put a finer point on it. Well,
Yeah.
in order to love all, serve all, and sell some T-shirts
Yeah.
and other merch, please go to Brothers for Life, not the number 4 like Prince would do, but brothersforlifemusic.bandcamp.com. When you go there, you've got
Slash
a
merch.
/merch, but you got
Yeah.
/music, /merch, and community. If you buy the digital album, it's $5. You get the acoustic version. Okay.
Yeah, that's
In
pretty
addition
gritty.
to yeah, no, I actually, you know what? I listened to both today. The acoustic version I like actually. Just the two of you just doing your thing. Now, are you singing as well as Sonny is singing, or is it just Sonny?
Yeah.
Both of you. Okay. Hey,
It's a brother act. We're brothers.
of
He
course.
sings some, I sing some. He's Gilbert, I'm Sullivan.
Oh my. Okay.
Right.
I did. You know what? You throw Gilbert and so. You know what? See, you, Mr. Bland, you are a well-rounded musician.
It's all right,
And
man. I don't.
Arthur Salt, you
we can
done
keep it
found the
between
lost
ourselves,
chord.
man. I see you, Kurt. That's all. I see you.
It's nice though. It's nice to have that. It's nice to have that sense of fraternity though. Thank you for allowing us to indulge ourselves really mainly. I mean, I'm asking a lot of questions of you and stuff, and thank you for just indulging your Friday night
with us.
Away from your beloved spouse.
Oh no, she's right over here. We actually have been drinking this tequila and Sprite.
Whoa. Okay,
Hey.
I'm in the wine and spirits industry. So in addition to the many things I do, what tequila are you rocking with right now?
What are we drinking? Haze.
Clase
Clase
Azul.
Azul. Yeah.
You drinking out of the ceramic container?
Yes, she said
Rep-
yes.
Reposado or Blanco?
Reposado. See,
That's some good shit.
and oh, it's ginger beer. Oh, I thought it was
What,
Sprite.
Goslings? Goslings?
Goslings, you said? Reeds.
Oh, Reeds. Oh, okay, okay.
No,
Tell wife I see her. I see her. Okay.
No, she's got a pretty good.
Okay.
She hears you. She's grinning pretty good.
You got some
Yeah,
good
no.
tequila over there, brother.
She used to. I trust her. She used to work in the restaurant industry, so I don't. And also I'm not. I'm a fair weather drinker. I don't really. I like it because it tastes good, and I'm kind of off sugar lately, so this is the only chance I get to.
No, your neutral spirits are good for that if you're watching your sugars. So I respect. Hey, dip into the mezcal world, my lady. Try Dos Hombres.
She's shaking her head. Yes.
Yeah, that's the guys from Breaking Bad, the mezcal. Their mezcal is Aaron Paul and Bryan Cranston.
If she heads out tomorrow, I'll ask her to grab some.
Man, let me tell you. Drink that by itself. That's a sipper. That ain't a mixer. And
Okay.
wait a minute. Clase Azul. We'll talk off the air. That's some good stuff.
Man. I don't know the difference.
Your lady is treating you right with the tequila. Let me tell you, all I'm going to say is Clase Azul is, man.
Okay.
You blessed and highly favored, man. You better, you know where your bread is buttered right there. I already get that.
Yes, absolutely. Well, listen, that's one more good reason.
Look, sorry, guys, I went off the reservation yet again. I can't help it. When you make Clase Azul in the conversation, I got to respond. So
I didn't know what it was. All I knew was it was sugary.
We'll talk. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, Michael, thank you for coming on here. Chris, thank you for your time and coming on here from your podcast. Jay, what can I say, man? We're brothers as well. I love Jay. Jay knows I love him. I love you, Jay. I do.
Yeah.
He's my ride or die right here. So
Jay
and Chris, I love you too, Chris. And you we don't know each other. We just met each other. But Michael, I love you. I love you too, man.
It's all love, man. I got love for everybody right here.
Yeah.
But Jay, how do you have my avatar behind you? Is that?
Yeah. I'm actually rocking a green screen. So in we can just put the background up. So
okay. Yeah. I guess you're not casting a shadow. I see now.
Of the avatar, and I wanted to make that my
That's
background.
pretty hot. I got to learn to do that for myself over here.
Cool.
Easy to tell you how to do that. Really. Yeah.
I got a green screen as well, but it's a hassle to put up. So I just go rocking with the mural. I figured the mural's good enough.
Yeah.
I want your mural on my podcast. Our podcast.
Kurt, I'm sorry, before I turn it over to you, I am just going to say, Michael, thank you very much for this. Kurt and I and Chris, we literally have been fans for decades, and we appreciate your time. We appreciate we appreciate all the music and the memories. And I'm speaking for the three of us that this has just been a treat for us.
Well, I'm happy I was able to shed some light on things for you guys. I mean, it's what it's all about, really. It's, sharing ideas and thoughts and,
Thank you for the fellowship, Michael.
Yes, thank you so much. And thanks for asking some. Actually, I didn't know how far off the questions were going to be from the beaten path, and you pleasantly
we go deep.
Lived up to your whoever it was that was it you, Kurt? That it was you, Jay. Somebody said, "Trust me, we won't be asking you the normal questions that you would encounter." And sure enough, you guys kept it fresh. And I really appreciate it because I get sick of saying the same thing over and over, so this gave me some range.
Good.
So I appreciate the experience also. Thank you so much. And I'm glad we were able to do this so quickly. You just happened to catch me on the weekend with nothing to do. So
cool. Listen, well, speaking of which, and we do want to plug that, and I will put a link in there for us as well, that in 2 weeks you have another gig coming up with the Urban Classics.
Yes. Urban Classic.
Is that Crooners?
Yeah, that's at Crooners. It's on Friday, November 8th. And it's the Pure Soul, the Friday Night Soul Revue. And that's my band. Some of those people played with me last April at a thing. I did a Prince tribute at the Uptown Theater.
Yes. I wish I could have been there.
So some of the singers and some and Barbarella will be with me. the horn
Oh,
section will be with me, and it should be a good time.
Bring
You
it-
know, we
oh.
like crooners. It's the room sounds really good, and the audiences are always warm and receptive. So that's all we can hope for, really.
bring us
And
the plug.
you should do the City Winery gig
Which
because I
city?
know you mentioned another City Winery. You were talking about possibly taking an iteration of one of your outfits to come out. Man, I got the City Winery 33 minutes down the street from me. I could take the train down there. I will pay top dollar. If I could produce the show myself, I'd produce it for you to come to City Winery in Philly.
Uh, oh, in Philadelphia. Okay.
Yeah, City Winery is a chain. The chain is all over, man. City Winery, we got a City Winery in Boston. They're
Okay.
all over the place. Yeah, because I knew you were talking about the entertaining the idea on another podcast about doing the City
Yeah,
Winery gigs.
I
Dude,
was thinking about maybe. Yeah, I'm like, well, why can't we,
do it.
maybe strike up a deal with them? But I'm actually working on uh uh I don't know how it's going to flesh out just yet, but a friend of mine uh has someone who works with Live Nation, and we're discussing
Oh,
maybe doing a run of shows at some of their venues in different cities.
okay.
I mean, it may fall apart tomorrow. I don't know, but
Well, if
but
it
right now,
doesn't, we'll
that's
come
what I'm
see
trying to
you.
work on. So,
Yeah.
and we'd probably do the Midwest first.
Okay. No, fair
I was
enough.
gonna I was gonna say if you're ever doing anything in Minneapolis, hit me up because I'm an hour away. So
Yeah. Definitely hit Chris
Okay.
up. He'll plug the hell out of you.
Yeah.
Well,
Great.
folks, if you liking what you saw and heard today, and I can speak for all the boys here that thank you once again. Really, it's an honor to have you here today, man.
My
If you
pleasure.
like what you
Thank you
heard and
so
saw
much.
today, please hit the like and subscribe button for further content, further guests. We are always striving to have the guests that we want to come on here. And as I always say before Jay does his final salutations and sign offs, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Thanks, Kurt. Appreciate that. And I'm going to take one more chance to say thank you, Michael Bland. Thank you, Chris Johnson. It was our absolute pleasure. And as I always say, everybody out there, when the universe comes knocking, you have to answer that door. Peace.
Peace.
peace.